Hi, I'm Instructor Gregory and welcome back to Networking Fundamentals. This is our 10th module, our last module, and we're going to talk about the internet and all its glory. Well, maybe just some of its glory, but anyway, let's move on, okay? So, just to review our agenda here, we're going to talk about understanding the concepts of the internet and the intranet and the extranet, right? And this is the very first objective when you're learning about the fundamentals of networking. So I guess I'm moving a little bit backwards here, right? In this case, we're saving the best or the first for last. We're going to cover the internet, the intranet, the extranet, and also virtual private networks. We're also going to cover a little bit of security devices and zones. All right, so let's get it going and talk about the internet, right? So what exactly is the internet? It's not a cloud like you see represented in pictures, right? It's actually just this worldwide, amazing, impressive system of connected computer networks, right? A lot of local area networks, all interconnected, right? And devices connect to the internet using the TCP/IP protocol suite and all its protocols. Now, the internet contains a lot of information, a lot of resources, and a lot of services. And you and I, we're probably using the World Wide Web, just constantly to either access or host content, right? We use it to send email all the time. And also the internet providers connectivity for peer-to-peer networks or for file sharing. All right, so the internet is a really cool invention, right? And we are all really thankful for it. Now, with that being said, what is the World Wide Web? The World Wide Web is another enormous system of interlinked hypertext document. So everything that we access on web pages use markup language called HTTP, right? Interlinked hypertext document then contain text, graphics, videos, and just a ton of really cool stuff, right? Now, currently, the World Wide Web is in stage 2.0. Right, so it's known as Web 2.0. 2.0 is interactive, right? It's a more interactive type of web experience compared to its previous version, 1.0. All right, so let's keep moving along and talk about intranet and extranets. All right, so an intranet is inside of the internet, right? So an intranet is a private computer network or a single website that an organization implement in order to allow its employees to access data around the world, right? But employees have to log in using a username and a password, and that's authentication, right? Just verifying that you are who you say you are before you can actually access the information that's located on the intranet, right? Now, the whole purpose of this is to keep the general public out and away from files and data sets that should be exclusive to the company or organization. Companies or organizations can then add extranets as additional layer outside of the intranet. So an extranet is very similar to an intranet, except it extends to users outside of the company or organization. So if you have a sister company, or maybe you have company A and you work with company B, and you want to give company B's employees access to your extranet, that allows them to access important files with semi-access to your intranet. Now, user authentication is very necessary because the extranet itself still shouldn't be open to the general public. Not just anybody should access the extranet. All right, so we covered a couple of different ways that if you're working for a company or an organization, how you can access data, right? So the intranet we just reviewed is for internal employees, and the extranet is for partners. And you might have something like a web server for the public that's located and accessible by way of the internet. All right, so let's talk about virtual private networks. So what happens if you're working from a remote location, right? Or maybe your company is based in Seattle, Washington, and you happen to be working out of Shanghai, right? Well, you can access your company's intranet by using a virtual private network. And that's just a virtual connection between two or more private networks, right? It allows users to access remote or resources remotely. They're going to log in using a remote access protocol. And VPNs do this simply by encapsulating, or rather creating a tunnel in which communication can pass through, right? So the tunnel goes through all the different local area networks and the wide area networks that data communication might have to pass through in order to reach its destination. Okay, so virtual private networks use data encapsulation and encryption to ensure that the data is secure, right? And that's something that should be crossed over. Now, when we implement VPN, we have a couple of different protocols that allow us to do it. Point-to-point tunneling protocol is the first one, right? It was the original protocol that was used to capsulate frames into IP datagrams. Now, data isn't encrypted by default. It is still the most commonly used VPN protocol, but it's really important to know that it's less secure than the protocol that we're going to talk about next, right? The Layer 2 tunneling protocol with Internet Protocol security. Now, Layer 2 tunneling protocol and IPsec is just a combination. Well, actually, Layer 2 tunneling protocol itself is a combination of point-to-point tunneling protocol and Layer 2 forwarding, right? And it's actually not that secure by itself, but when you link it with the IPsec to encrypt the message, it becomes much more secure than the point-to-point tunneling protocol. So keep that in mind. All right, so lastly, we'll talk about security devices and zones, right? So if we want to access these networks, we have to make sure that we protect our data, right? We have to make sure that we maintain the integrity and that other people are not able to access it and steal it. And we really want to make sure that we're set up properly and we're properly protected. So in order to do that, we use security devices such as firewalls, right? They're the main defense, not just for the company's network, but for any network, right? With a local area network or a wide area network or an intranet or an extranet, right? We also can configure routers and switches to perform security functions like traffic filtering in order to make sure that we prevent unwanted communication. Now, we can also set up perimeter networks to keep open the information that you want to make available to the public users while making sure that you keep people out of the company's or the organization's data. All right, so firewalls are what protect the network from malicious attacks and unwanted intrusions, right? They inspect communication from malicious data, and they also perform filtering of the data in order to make sure that if it knows or finds something that is malicious, then it doesn't get into your local area network. Now, something that is cool about the firewall is that they can actually be implemented as software or hardware, right? There are devices that are dedicated firewalls, and then there are some software that can run on your server or even on your local machine in order to filter out traffic and inspect for malicious data. All right, so just a quick recap of what a perimeter network is. Right, I know that we discussed this in a previous module, but a perimeter network, once again, is just a small network that is set up separately from your private local area network and the internet, right? So it sits between the local area network and the internet. And this allows users outside of the company to access specific services located in what we call the demilitarized zone, right? So they might house a switch with servers that offer like web or email or other services. Okay, so just a couple of things to keep in mind there, but it's a great way to secure your data while maintaining and providing access to very important services on your network. All right, everyone. So that's it. That's the last one. All right. So let's do a quick recap of what we just learned in this module. All right. So we discussed understanding the concepts of the internet, the intranet, and the extranet, right? And we talked about how they function. And then we talked a little bit about virtual private networks, and then finally security devices and demilitarized zones over a perimeter network. All right, so thank you so much. I really enjoyed teaching you this stuff, and I hope you enjoy learning, right? I know that there's a lot more to learn. This was just the fundamental concepts of networking. So you're going to be doing a lot more research and a lot more digging, but just keep focused, because networking has a lot of career opportunities out there. And if you stay focused, you will have a rewarding career. All right, so again, thank you. I really enjoyed our time together. And again, that was Networking Fundamentals. I'll see you again. Bye.